Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Wednesday night in Azeroth, and we have a great show lined up for you today. We are going to be talking about player housing, and that's something that I've mentioned a lot on this show, but I definitely want to take a deeper dive and kind of all right, here's where we are today. Here's what we know so far, and then maybe talk about what's going to come up in the future. We're also going to look at the Nordic Game speech that was given by Hazzikostas, in which he talked about game development and systems design in World of Warcraft, and do a little bit of discussion on Classic because, well, why not? So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Before I get into anything else, I wanted to do a quick rundown of the state of the game. World of Warcraft by the numbers, whatever. I haven't figured out a good name for the segment. But basically, I haven't done this for a few weeks, and I wanted to be able to run through this and kind of get an idea of where WoW is numerically. What does the population look like for the different versions of the game, whether it's classic or retail? And what are players doing? So we're going to start with Classic, and we have 4 different versions of Classic. 3 of them are getting updates. One of them is the Era service, which is pretty, I was going to say stagnant. It's not really stagnant. It's very steady. Cataclysm Classic saw a huge jump in the number of raiders for the week of February 18th, which was when Dragon Soul launched, and it has slowly declined to the point that it's now sub 100,000 people that are, or characters that are raiding in Cataclysm Classic, which is really low. I mentioned a few weeks ago that our height for Classic was Wrath of the Lich King, some 600,000. So we've definitely come a long way down, but we're at the end of the expansion. Everybody's looking forward to Miss Pandaria, and yeah, so obviously those numbers are going to go down. Dragon Soul is not the most fondly remembered raid, but also the people who are playing it at this point are enjoying it. They're having a good time, and they're really trying to complete their just ride out the expansion, for lack of a better term. So the population on February 18th was 124,000. It is now just under 92,000. So not a massive, oh my gosh, we lost 1 million players, Warlords of Draenor, but it is a drop. The Era servers are steady in somewhere around 11,750 on average. Season of Discovery is hovering around that 75,000 mark. Sometimes it goes a little bit up, sometimes it goes a little bit down. Got a little bit of a bump for Phase 8, which was the Scarlet Enclave raid. But honestly, by and large, it's not really something that's resonating with a large population of the player base. It's more of a high-end raider and streamer type content. So Season of Discovery, staying steady around 75,000. And the anniversary servers have slowly started to creep up. We saw a big jump when Blackwing Lair was released, where it went over 100,000. It's back down below 100,000. And the last week's numbers were 93,500. So just to give you that idea, last week there were more players raiding Anniversary than there were playing raiding Cataclysm. And that's not to say that Anniversary is more popular than Cataclysm. Cataclysm's over, and Anniversary is in what I like to call the sweet spot, which is Zul'Grub is released, but not AQ. That window is the best Classic ever was, in my opinion. You have Blackwing Lair, you have Molten Core, Onyxia's Lair, and you have Zul'Grub, which is a great catch-up raid. You don't have the obnoxiousness of AQ40 yet. AQ20 is a good raid. It's a good catch-up raid, but it just didn't have the popularity of Zul'Grub. So, and I think some of it may be that just there was so much involved with going out to Silithus and having to be there, and people really just enjoyed being able to kind of, I'm in Ironforge. I'm going to zip up to Menethil Harbor, take the boat to Onyxia, and then we'll hearth back to Ironforge or portal back to Ironforge and fly down to do Blackwing Lair, that sort of thing. Same thing with, I can't remember the name of the horde city. It's not Stonard. What is the one in the Badlands? It's not Stonehenge either. Oh my gosh. You can tell I've never raided on Horde. And because I have never raided on Horde. I made my guild created a Horde version of the guild, the Angry Scholars Society, last week. And so I created a Horde character. I've not added him to the guild yet. I made an orc warrior named Denethor, because why not? And so, yeah, I'll start working on that one. Let's jump over to the War Within. In the War Within, the number of Mythic Plus runs has slowly declined as well, but not sub 1 million yet. And I'm kind of surprised by that. We just went through week 12, where the total number of Mythic Plus runs for the week was 1.16 million. The beginning of the season, week 1, was 2 million. So to give you an idea, yes, we've lost about 1 million total runs, but I don't feel like that means that it's in a bad state. What's important is to look at the keystone levels that are being run. If you look at the keystone levels that are being run, obviously +2 keystone is going to have a good chunk of people. That's 1.5 million. A +6 keystone is 1.5 million. A +7 keystone is 1.8 million. A 10, and this is for the entirety of the season, a +10 keystone, total number of runs for +10s is 4.5 million. That is mind-boggling to me. With how gatekeepy people have been in the past, the fact that 10s have gotten that high, that volume of runs is astounding. And then +12s at 1.6 million. Everything else is a little lower. There's a few. That 7 to 12 range is where the meat of the player base is, though, or 6 to 12 range. We did get one run that was a 22. It did not get timed, and there was 24 runs that are +21. We have 24 runs. 19 of them have been timed, and 5 were over. So obviously, if you are doing a keystone that high and you make a mistake, you're just going to brick the key, because you're not finishing it. There's no point in finishing it, because you're not getting anything special over running a 17 or a 12. I guess maybe you get a few more crests, but the people who are running at that level, they're just looking for that completion. So anyway, what does this all mean? I don't know. This is just numbers, and it's telling us that the game, I think the game is still in a really good place. I'm personally not really thrilled with the War Within, but that's why there's so many versions of World of Warcraft for us to play. You've got Era, you've got Cataclysm Classic, you've got Season of Discovery, you've got Anniversary Classic, and you have the War Within. These are all things that you could do, and 2 of those game versions have hardcore modes that you can also play. So there's a lot of World of Warcraft to play. You don't have to be worried that your version is or is not going to be good. That's not what this is about. This is about, here's where we currently stand for the game overall. Now, what I would like to see is for Blizzard to give us some indication of the overall player base, but they're really not going to do that. That's not something that they are necessarily willing to release. I'm just curious, as somebody who loves numbers and somebody who loves data, I would be really curious to know, well, what is the total number of people who are playing World of Warcraft just across the board? And also, what does that look like in 8 weeks when we're getting to the end of season 2? What is that going to look like? What is that going to feel like? So, I definitely enjoy seeing these numbers. I definitely enjoy going through them and trying to extract some meaning. But ultimately, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just, here are the numbers. Take them as you will. Certainly, the numbers for Classic don't really say a whole lot. People are going to be playing multiple versions of Classic. You have 11,500 or so Era players. I guarantee you that some of those players are playing a different version of the game, whether it's retail or another classic version, hardcore, something. They're doing something other than just playing Era. That's their weekly, oh, I'm going to go meet up with the guys at the pool hall for a drink. That's what they're doing. They're running Nax. They're doing their thing every week. It's the same group of people. So yeah, no one version of the game is better than the other, but I like looking at the numbers and I like kind of getting a feel. I'm really curious to see, and this is the type of thing that you can derive some meaning from. What is the jump of players that are getting back on for Mists of Pandaria versus the players who, what was the jump for Cataclysm versus obviously Wrath of the Lich King was the biggest jump. But what does that look like for the player base, and what does that mean for the future of Classic? So I definitely would be curious to see what that looks like, but that's something that we'll look at in a few months. Speaking of Mists of Pandaria Classic, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there right now. Blizzard announced the release date for Mists of Pandaria Classic. It is July 21st. It's a week before I thought it was going to be. They also announced that the pre-patch was going to be on July 1st. It's a week after I thought it was going to be. I thought we'd get a 5-week pre-patch for some reason. I was like, oh, we got pet battles, we got scenarios, we got all sorts of stuff. Nope, 3 weeks. We get 3 weeks for pre-patch. That's it. So yeah, Mists of Pandaria is coming. The pre-patch will be here July 1st. So if you are not ready for that, and like I said, we'll talk about it a little bit. You want to start working on your Mists of Pandaria Classic or your Cataclysm Classic characters in preparation for Mists of Pandaria Classic. So, all right, let's talk about last week in World of Warcraft. So I mentioned the other day, last episode, that we had gotten 6 of 8 Blackwing Lair. Last night we went and cleared Blackwing Lair. We cleared Ani, and then we did Blackwing Lair. It was a great raid. Everybody did a good job. We struggled a little with the Fire Maw. Fire Maw is a bitch. I'm not gonna lie, that fight sucks, but we worked it out. We figured it out, and a lot of it comes down to the tank positioning, because you got to hide in that little corner, and the tank has to be just far enough out that you can heal him without getting hit by the wing buffet. Sorry, the wing buffet, and yeah. So it's kind of a. I'd say Fire Maw is probably one of the most technical fights in Blackwing Lair, which isn't saying much. It's not. None of them are super technical. But yeah, that's what happened. So yeah. Anyway, we cleared Blackwing Lair 8 out of 8. I got my Dragon Stalker chest, which was huge from Nefarian. I was very happy about that. Yeah, there we go. Molten Core tonight. I might be late. I might not make it for Molten Core. We'll have to see. But I'm hoping that I can make it at least for Major Domo, because I really need that leaf. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Man, if that leaf drops and it's just sits in that chest, I'm gonna be so sad. Anyway, but yeah, that's where we are. I managed to get to Knight Lieutenants last week, so that's pretty cool. I have 2 more weeks of ranking to do after this week. Because was it 2 more? Yeah, 2 more. I'm trying to get to rank 11 so I can get my cheap mount. It's 90 gold, and apparently I didn't know this, but you can get the PvP mount if you manage to rank 11 before you hit level 60. You can get an epic mount before level 60, which is kind of crazy. I didn't know that was a thing, but yeah, you can do that. Classic is always full of surprises, even though it's solved, air quotes solved. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I did my ranking. I did my raid last week. I did not get into a ZG. I need to try and get into a couple ZGs this week, because I need my Zandalari rep, but that's about it. And I've been playing around on Cataclysm Classic as well, now that we've got the Joyous Journeys buff again. I'm starting to level up some characters on Cataclysm in preparation for Mists of Pandaria. So that's pretty much what I did last week. Not a whole lot. I logged onto the War Within at one point, checked out the trading post, and was like, I don't want to do any of this stuff. So I logged out. And it's a bummer. I feel bad. I feel bad because it's like I was so hyped about The War Within. I enjoyed season 1 so much. Season 2, I was so excited about the goblins and all, and I feel like it's just, I don't know if it's just if it's hitting flat or what it is. Somebody else in the Discord was saying that, Stug Life on the Discord was saying that he's just not happy with Horrific Visions. The game itself is in a weird spot. You're either having fun or you're not. There's not a whole lot of in between. And if you're trying to interact with the content that Blizzard has added in the patch content, it's not very good. The event, the Nightfall event's not very good. The Horrific Visions, unless you have this great nostalgia for Horrific Visions back in Battle for Azeroth, it's not very good. So there you go. That's what's going on there. So anyway, that's my what I did last week in World of Warcraft. I'm really looking forward to patch 11.1.7. The lore walking feature looks amazing. I talked about that a little bit last week, but very excited about what we are getting and the potential for it in the future. We can get all sorts of story beats in there. So hopefully that's something that we will see Blizzard continue to iterate on. I'm hoping this is a new permanent feature, not just something that's part of the current patch. And I'd love to see them add old storylines in too, just to flesh out the story. What happened with Sargeras? What happened with... tell us the story that is told in book form. Give us some cinematics of things like how did Garrosh get to Draenor? Make that a story. Give us the story of Garrosh. Stuff like that. That would be really cool. But anyway, that's beside the point. That's what I got up to last week on WoW. There's a little bit of news that we're going to cover. And then I want to talk about this Ian Hazzikostas talk that he gave at Nordic Game. It was interesting, to say the least. And then, we're going to talk about player housing and kind of where we are with that currently. So anyway, that's what we got. Let's move on to the news.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so like I said, Mists of Pandaria Classic is going to launch on July 21st. If you are not prepared with your characters at level 85 in Cataclysm, take your time to do that now. Blizzard has reinstituted the Joyous Journeys, 50% XP gains for all kills and quests. That really helps out the leveling process. I've got my Hunter that I'm going to get leveled up. I've got my Death Knights that I'm working on. My Paladin's already level 85. So I'm going to get all my stuff set up, and so I can do stuff in Mists of Pandaria, I guess. Also, Blizzard announced a tie-in with Season of Discovery, and I found this one to be really interesting. If you can kill Balnazar in the new Scarlet Enclave raid, which I think Balnazar is the first or second fight, if you can kill Balnazar in the Scarlet Enclave in Season of Discovery, you will get a free level 85 boost in Mists of Pandaria Classic. Now that, to me, is pretty wild. How they thought that one up, I don't know, but it's a cool tie-in. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of groups going for this boss. So yeah, there you go. Free 85 boost. So if you don't have any characters in leveled up in Cataclysm right now, but you do have somebody in Season of Discovery, get in the raid, try and get into a pug, see what you can do. I think that's pretty cool. So there you go. And Mists of Pandaria. So I was listening to Countdown to Classic, the most recent episode where they were talking about the raids, and I have to say, as far as raiding content goes, Mists of Pandaria is probably, on an average, if you average out all the raids for each expansion, Mists of Pandaria is going to be one of the best ones that we've ever had. There were some expansions that had really good raids, but they also had really bad raids. Mists of Pandaria is one that just every raid was a home run. And I know some of the people on this particular podcast episode don't love all of the raids, but I feel like all 5 of those raids are good, and some of them are great. I feel like Throne of Thunder is probably one of the best raids Blizzard has ever done. I know that Firelands usually gets a lot of credit for that era of raiding. But I would say Throne of Thunder is probably, if you go Kata, Mop, Wad, in that range, Throne of Thunder might be the best raid in all of that. So, I don't know. But yeah, if you like raiding, Mists of Pandaria is definitely the expansion for you. If you like dungeons, not so much. There is a challenge modes, which is cool, but there's only 8 dungeons, and 3 of them are repeats from vanilla. So you have the Scarlet Monastery and the, what is it? Skull of Mance. So yeah, there's just not a lot of dungeon content in Mists of Pandaria. There is, however, scenarios. And so Blizzard decided, for better or for worse, I guess for worse, since they changed their mind on it afterwards, they decided they were going to do less dungeon content and add in scenarios to give players. It's 3-player scenario. You go and you do a whole bunch of different things. If you did Mop Remix, you did the scenarios, you know what I'm talking about. I just feel like overall scenarios didn't really hit, maybe in the way Blizzard wanted them to. I liked what they did with the technology, though. They used that to improve questing by saying, okay, this quest, we're going to seamlessly roll you into a scenario that allows you to do what you need to do in the quest without maybe being in the open world. It kind of isolates you into an enclosed area. So from that standpoint, scenarios were good. And I do believe that the technology for scenarios is ultimately what gave us delves as well, for better or for worse again. But yeah, scenarios was a really good addition to Mists of Pandaria, and I'm looking forward to at least playing around with them again in Classic. Doing them in Remix was not the same. It wasn't real. It was fake. This is Bronze Dragon stuff. But yeah. Anyway, Mists of Pandaria Classic will be here July 21st. The pre-patch will be on July 1st. You will be able to purchase a boost for this one as well, just like you have in the past. And I think you can use it on a monk. You just can't use it on a Pandaran. So that's pretty cool, I guess, if you really want an 85 monk. And Joyous Journeys is back through the duration of Mists of Pandaria and the pre-patch. So it'll end on July 21st when we go into Mists of Pandaria proper. Mists of Pandaria Classic, I should say. So there you go. That's what's going on there. I'll do a hopefully I'll get an episode in here where I can talk about Mists of Pandaria Classic. I'd really like to get some people from the Classic WoW community on the show to talk about the state of Classic, where things are. I know a lot of people who have been playing Classic since 2019, or some people even before that when it was on private servers. I'm curious to know where people are, where the community is. And so I'd love to get some Classic content creators, podcasters, whoever on the show to talk about some of this stuff. So we'll see what I can line up in the next couple of weeks. All right. Let's talk about the trading post for June has been announced, some of the items that Blizzard is putting out there. So here's the deal. We keep getting all of these Blizzard is giving us these pretty generic trading posts, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it. It's June, so of course we're going to get a beach chair. We're going to get some generic looking mounts. There's some cool weapons on there. There's this really cool skull flaming helm, which is very similar to the one that you could purchase. It's just different colorations of it. The cold flame battle gear looks cool. The lavaborn battle plate looks cool. I don't know. The trading post has not been really hitting any home runs for me lately. It's more like, this is kind of cool stuff that I can just stock away and I'll find a use for it later at the transmog in the future. The trading post, the Traveler's Log reward, however, is the Molten Chimera. So it's a Molten Chimera. It's pretty cool looking. If you like that sort of mount, which, I mean, I don't, but I can recognize cool when I see it. This one's cool. So if you like this sort of mounts, definitely check that out. That's the June reward for the Traveler's Log. So that one I'm looking forward to. I probably won't use it on any of my characters, but it'll be cool just to have it. But as far as the trading post items themselves, it's not bad. I'm just I don't know. I used to want to go through the trading post line by line, item by item, and I don't know. I've lost some of the excitement for that. So I guess maybe that's the symptom of not really playing retail WoW. I mean, kind of on the outs with modern WoW and the War Within. But yeah, that's where we are. So anyway, check out the trading post. It's there is some cool stuff. There's a couple of mounts and different things that you can get. You can get, if you didn't get the rocket powered surfboard, that's going to be available and stuff like that. So there you go. That's and the colorful beach chair, of course. But that's what's coming in the trading post for June. For me personally, I will be getting all of the transmog sets just because they look cool. I like transmog sets that work together. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I hate these transmog sets with the big old shoulders that clip your weapon when you put your weapon on behind your back, and then they clip. I hate that so much. It drives me crazy. Blizzard, please, if you could please fix that. Or give us the option to hide our weapon. I don't want to have my weapon clipping through the back of my stuff or slicing through my mount. Just let me hide it when I'm not holding it in my hand. You know, let me pull it out of the magic nothingness, and now it's in my hand. But if once I put it away, it disappears. Please give us that option in transmog. That's all I'm asking. So, all right. Sorry, I just. Ooh. All right. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this Nordic Game conference. So I guess it's like the equivalent of Gamescom in Europe. These are the two biggest game conferences. I guess the Nordic Game is more of a developer conference. I don't know. I'd never heard of it before. I saw this video floating around of Ian Hazzikostas. So basically what it boils down to is they had him come out and give a talk. He said that he had originally written this talk in 2020 for the 15th anniversary of WoW. Obviously that didn't go through because of COVID. So that got canceled. He said we went back and he looked at the speech that he had written and looked at his notes. He realized there were a lot of things that he was going to have to change because a lot of their design philosophies and feelings about the things that they do have changed since that time. So I watched the entire thing. It was really good. He's come so far as a speaker. I think Ian has been fantastic for the game. I think just overall, he's a really good game leader for World of Warcraft. I watched this and there were a few reaction videos to it. I watched a couple minutes of those and I thought, no, I'm going to form my own opinions on this. What I saw when I watched this, and it looks to me like he's really trying to drive the point home that Blizzard does not want to continue to dictate to the players, here's how you have to play. What they're trying to do is they're trying to provide something and say, here's the thing. And if the players like it, then Blizzard will say, cool, we're going to do more of this. We're going to iterate on it. We're going to make it better, make adjustments to it. We're going to provide patches for it and things like that. What he said was, in the past, Blizzard's design philosophy had been, no, this is how you have to do this. This is the system that we gave you, and we want you to interact with it in this particular way. And players didn't want to do that. Players were like, well, yeah, but we want to do it this other way. And he gave the whole example of if you have a park, a city planner has designed a park, and there's a path that goes through the park. And at the corner, there's a bus bench that's not off of the path. Well, people are just going to walk across the grass to get to the bus bench because they want to go catch the bus or whatever the reasoning is. It was a basic example that he gave, and he did a lot better of a job of explaining it than I can. But the point was, the designer of the park, instead of accepting the fact that people wanted to cut through the park to get to the bus bench, kept putting obstacles in the way to make it harder for people to take a shortcut so that they would follow the path that he had intended, which was not the whole point of creating the park. Creating the park is to service the people and give them something that they can enjoy. And if you try to put obstacles in there to prevent them just so that they can do it the way you want, well, now you're just frustrating people for no reason. And really, And he didn't say this, but really you're trying to fluff your own ego. That's really what it boils down to. And so from a game standpoint, Blizzard has been trying very hard to change that philosophy and say, what do the players want? Okay, players want this. Let's try and work through it. Let's try and make it happen. One of the things he talked about, though, was how they can make changes and they can make adjustments, and you could do things and you can turn this up or you can turn it down, and however that goes. But he did talk about there are certain things that are very difficult to roll back. And he specifically mentioned the Horde and Alliance combinations that we've seen in modern WoW over the last few years. Allowing Alliance and Horde players to do things together. In vanilla WoW in 2004, impossible. You can't even talk to each other. You can't communicate. You can't do anything. Even if you try and do a / emote, it's not going to work. It just says, oh, so-and-so does some strange gestures. Impossible to talk to each other. Now in 2025, people are on Discord. People have friends. People are on all sorts of social media that didn't exist back in 2004. And they have their friends, and maybe the friend plays Horde and they play Alliance. And it's like, well, why should I be forced to make a new character to play with my friends, or vice versa? Or even worse, we're not allowed to play together because neither one of us wants to roll a new character just because we're different factions. We're just talking about people here. And yes, there's the game fantasy of, oh my gosh, put the war back in Warcraft. I get all that. But the idea of giving people what they want in terms of, hey, I just want to play with my friends. And my friend happens to play Horde. I happen to play Alliance. Big whoop. And so Blizzard has slowly started making those changes. But what Ian said in this talk was they can't just open the floodgate and allow all those changes in, because if they make a change and then they go, ooh, this is causing this other issue that we're now seeing that we didn't think about, it's really hard to pull it back if you've opened every single door. If you're opening these doors one at a time, it's easier to go, okay, well, this isn't working, so let's take back this one step. And yes, that's going to be frustrating for the players, but at least it's better than, oh my gosh, that we broke the game because we opened up the floodgate. So for example, you can do time walking now cross-faction if you have a full group. They don't want to allow other people into your cross-faction time walking. And I get it. It's like that's just an additional component that you're adding that complexity in that you don't need. It's like when you first started with cross-faction guilds, people could kill their guildmates if they were PvP flagged, which is kind of funny. So it's a matter of slowly adding in these features and these systems in a way that allows the players to get what they want, but allows the developers to control that. But the developers aren't trying to prevent the players from having that. No, this is a World of Warcraft. You have to do Warcraft this way. It's, you want to play together? Okay, that's fine. You don't have to play together. You can certainly go war mode and just kill every single enemy faction that you see, but you don't have to. And that's the whole point, is that a lot of players don't want to do that. They say, this Horde player, this Alliance player is my friend. We want to go hang out together. And yeah, sometimes he pisses me off and I want to punch him in the face. And so in that case, yeah, let us duel too. But the idea of just, well, why can't Blizzard just do this? All they need to do is flip the switch. It's not that easy. It's a much more complex thing than that. And yes, while it might be easy from a code standpoint, it's the repercussions of that. And let's not forget that WoW is a 20-plus-year-old game. And so every time they make a change to something and you go, wow, Blizzard, multi-dollar company, they couldn't even figure this out. It's hard. The amount of code that they have, that's hard. That's hard to do. I would imagine that at some point, Blizzard is going to have to do a revamp of the code for World of Warcraft, which is going to break a lot of things. And maybe that's going to be a WoW 2. Or maybe that's going to be something else, but you cannot continue with this spaghetti code forever. They're going to have to update the code at some point and get rid of all that legacy programming in the game that it doesn't need it anymore. Everything has been kind of patched over, and we're no longer using things the same way. We already have the classic game. And so you can keep classic on the current existing client. You take retail and you move it onto a new client. Some of these things aren't going to work the way that they used to. Okay. I mean, that's what's going to be better, is that for the longevity of the game, that the code itself is actually functional, and that Blizzard can make changes and iterate those changes in a proper and productive way rather than the kind of guesswork that we're having right now. So I'm hoping that he really means all of the things that he's talking about, that Ian is going through and talking about these challenges and trying to solve them and trying to do more for the player base. He talked about one of the examples he gave was they made something that the players thought was cool, which was world quests in Legion. And I didn't realize this at the time. They made world quests and players were like, this is so cool. We love it. This is so great. And they could go grind their artifact power and they were doing their world quests. You didn't have to go to a quest hub. You could just go out into the world and there's a quest and it would just happen. It would just automatically accept and automatically complete for you. And then when Battle for Azeroth rolled around, they did world quests again. And the players were like, well, we just did that in Legion. How about something different? This is the same thing. We don't want to do the same thing. We want something different. We want something interesting. And they realized that players, you can't ever just finish. WoW is never going to be done. You can't say, okay, dungeons are done, because they did Mythic Plus and everyone loved it. And then the player base has slowly started to complain to the point where it's like, hey, can you change this? Can you change that? We don't like this. We don't like that. Blizzard completely overhauled Mythic Plus. Now, I don't personally like the overhaul. I don't think it was good for the game, but I know a lot of people really do. A lot of people are like, well, I'm doing my 12 and above and I'm happy. Okay, great. It was good for them. It wasn't good for me, but I'm not making decisions. I'm one player who doesn't like the way that the direction that they went with Mythic Plus. That doesn't mean anything on the grand scheme of things. What it means, what overall is, are people still interacting with this game system? And as I just mentioned, from the numbers, yes, they are in large numbers. We have so many people doing Mythic Plus. So obviously something's working. Obviously Blizzard has some ideas that work and that they are hitting these home runs with. Now, the point that Ian made was that they can't ever just say, okay, Mythic Plus is done. Here you go. No, they have to continue to iterate on these things and make changes and maybe improvements or change or modifications to the structure. They took away affixes, but they added something else. And you can't ever just say, here you go, it's done. And I think that a lot of that, he mentioned that all the different types of raiding that they've done over the years, 40 player raid, 25 player raid, 25 and 10 player raid, 25 and 10 with heroic difficulty, 25 and 10, and then flex difficulty, and then 30 player, and then 10 to 30 player flex, and then raid finder, normal, heroic, and then 20 player mythic raid. There's been a lot of different changes to raiding over the years, but we've been kind of stagnant for the last few years. The last few expansions have all been the same. And so I'm betting, based off of this information, that Blizzard is going to be making a change to raiding soon. I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be mythic raiding or if it's going to be something else, but we're definitely going to see some changes to raiding. I would say by the end of the World Soul Saga, raiding will be different. It might not be a huge difference, but something will change. They're not just going to leave things as they are for 3 expansions straight. So take from that what you will. So anyway, it was a really interesting talk. I would definitely recommend checking it out. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link to the video in the show notes. It's definitely worth watching, though. Ian really nailed it. I mean, it was like him giving a TED talk on game system design. So, all right. That's, I think that's it for one other thing that I forgot to mention earlier. And I'm just going to bring this up really briefly because, like I said, I want to talk about Classic at a future date and kind of discuss the thoughts of the Classic community on the future of some of these different game iterations. But Season of Discovery is going to come to an end. Agrend, the head developer for Classic, did put out in a tweet that the development for Season of Discovery is going to start slowing down. They'll probably still be making some small changes here and there, but overall, there's not going to be any new big content. The big news there, though, is that they are not going to close down the Season of Discovery servers the way that they did with the Season of Mastery servers. So we will get Season of Discovery era servers. Your characters will live forever on those servers. There might not be any changes to them, but you'll be able to raid Scarlet Enclave as long as you want. play around on those characters, there wouldn't make any sense for them to transfer them to a classic era server because they're so different. The only thing they could do is keep them on Season of Discovery. So the Season of Discovery servers will stay open for indefinitely at this point, as long as Blizzard is a company. And yeah, there you go. So that's the news there. All right. We'll talk more about that in a future episode. Let's move on to this week in World of Warcraft. This is the War Within Season 2, Week 13. The Mythic Plus affixes for the week are Pulsar. Orbs spawn around players and orbit them at a fixed distance. Other players must soak the orbs. So this is the one where you have an orb that flows around you. Your other teammates are going to have to go and interrupt it. So you're going to want to move close to them so they can bump into the orbs. And if you get all the orbs taken care of, then you'll get a damage increase. If you don't, then the enemies will go on. It's basic. It's nothing too complex there. The +7 affix is Tyrannical. You know it, you hate it, you hate to see it. Tyrannical bosses have 25% more health and deal 15% more damage. It's not a bad week. I mean, I'm not going to be running in Mythic Plus, but there you go. That's your affixes for the week. You know, it's interesting to see kind of the response to the affixes. I looking at those numbers, I see a lot of players doing +12s, and I have to think that a lot of players are just like, yeah, we don't want to deal with affixes at all. Just give us the dungeons. So, I don't know. The bonus events this week, there are 2 of them. So they're stacking together the World Quest bonus event and the Arena Skirmish event, which is really interesting. So the World Quest bonus events, you will get the Sign of the Emissary buff. Reputation gains from World Quest increased by 50%. And you will pick up the quest, The World Awaits, from Archivist for Thrune and Dornogal to complete 10 world quests in Khazalgar. And you'll be rewarded with a 2,500 reputation with the faction of your choice, including the Undermine faction. So there you go. The other one is the Arena Skirmish event. You'll get the buff, The Sign of the Skirmisher. Honor gains from Arena Skirmishes increased by 50%. And you will get the quest, The Arena Calls, from Archivist for Thrune in Dornogal to win 10 Arena Skirmish battles, and you'll be rewarded with Conquest and Honor. So check those out if you want to do World Quests, if you want to do Arenas. The World Quest one is great because it'll interact with your weekly quest in outside the inn, where you have to do, I think it's like 6 world quests you have to do for that one. So if you get both of those and do them together, that's a great way to double up on your questing. So the PvP brawl for this week is Cooking Impossible. Nomi is hosting a Panda and Chili cook-off in the Valley of the Four Winds between the Alliance and the Horde. First bring Nomi all of the required ingredients wins. Yeah, this one's fun. You just run around and pick up the ingredients, take them back. Whoever fills it up first wins. You PvP while you're doing it, or don't. Stop the enemy. Whatever you want to do. It's actually kind of an interesting one. And this one to me is the most non-battleground of them. And this is like so different from anything else that's out there. Everything else is like, it's either a take on a battleground or a take on arena. And this is like, no, go cook soup. Like, what? Or chili. But anyway, and it also ties in really nicely with the announcement of the Miss Pandaria Classic release date. So there you go. That's what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. Nothing new or nothing too terribly exciting. The Dark Moon Fair is starting on Sunday. That's June 1st. So if you want to check out the Dark Moon Fair, you can. I don't need to explain all that to you. Go get your knowledge points, go get your skill points, whatever you want to do. And that's that. That's what's going on. Next week, we're going to get Dastardly Duos, so be ready for that. And we'll talk about that in next week's episode. So, all right, let's move on now to our main topic of the week.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
So Blizzard has slowly been releasing information about player housing, and there was a big event at the Warcraft 30 in Boston a few weeks ago that Blizzard was able to give some dev interviews on player housing. They gave some of the content creators a chance to play a first look at player housing. I wasn't invited, but whatever. I'm not one of those content creators, so it's all good. But they were able to get a actual playable test. Now, of course, it's an alpha, it's an early build. There's going to be a lot of things that don't work correctly, and that's fine. But it gave us some ideas as to what it's going to be like when player housing hits sometime before the launch of World of Warcraft Midnight. We don't know when player housing is going to hit. That's something that is still up in the air. We don't know exactly how this feature is going to land. There are still a lot of questions that we have. How are the neighborhoods going to be decided? Do you get to pick your neighbors? Are there going to be different styles of neighborhoods that are all going to look the same, functionally the same, and you're just going to pick a random house in these neighborhoods? We still don't know all of these questions or the answers to these questions, but what we do know is that Blizzard is really giving us a system with a lot of depth, and they're putting a ton of thought into it. I don't know how many people they have working on housing, but it's got to be a lot because it is a robust feature in the game. So let's talk about the basics. We've already gone through this before, but I'm going to kind of recap where we are with it. So Blizzard is giving us player housing. We are going to be able to have a house that we can build. We did find out that there's going to be 2 houses available to every player, 1 alliance, 1 horde. So you're not going to get a house for each individual character on your account. You only get 1 per, which is a little disappointing, I think, but that's probably just a in the beginning type feature because Blizzard doesn't even know how this is going to affect server loads. But that's for down the road. So you're going to be able to get a house. That house is going to be part of a neighborhood. Neighborhoods are going to have up to 50 houses in them. There's going to be public and private neighborhoods. So you could create a neighborhood for your guild. You could go live in a public neighborhood. It's like going to a private school versus a public school. Not saying that one is better or worse than the other, but private schools tend to push out, more business people. So, But seriously, you'll be able to put your house in any one of these neighborhoods. And like I said, you're going to have the option for 2 houses, as long as you have Alliance and Horde characters, which I think at this point, most people at least have a Horde character. So, and you can go visit your Horde character's house. So that you essentially have 2 houses. The Horde ones are going to be in Orgrimmar or outside of Orgrimmar, and the Alliance ones are going to be outside of Stormwind. So that's the really basic information that we know already about player housing and what this feature is going to look like. What we were able to glean recently from the updates that Blizzard has given us is there's going to be 2 modes of decorating your house. So you'll be able to create the house, and then once you go in and you say, here's what I want the walls to look like, here's what I want the floor to look like, here's the furniture I want, here's the decorations I want. You'll be able to choose from regular or advanced editing modes for player housing. So in the regular mode, it's going to be like a snap to. Imagine like The Sims. If you've ever played The Sims, there's a grid that you can put your furniture on, and it kind of follows a grid pattern. It's gotten more advanced over the years, but it's at its core, it's just a basic grid system that you can put things down. And so that's what we're going to get. I don't know exactly how tightly you can fill in that grid. If it's going to be like when you edit your user interface, you can adjust the size of the squares that it's going to snap to. I don't know. We haven't gotten that far into the system yet, but what we do know is that that's the basics. And if that's all you ever interact with, you'll be able to create a great house that you're going to enjoy a lot. But if you want to get down into the nitty gritty, you can get nitty and you can get gritty. Because you can turn off snapping and you can adjust things to your heart's content. You can scale them up or down. You can make it bigger or smaller. You can turn them to any degree that you want. There is a default snap to that you can turn, but you can turn that off and you can turn it any degree in any way that you want it to go. You can move it up or down. You can move it back and forth, side to side. Bigger, smaller, like I said, you can clip objects with each other. So if you've got a table and you've got a chair and you want the chair to be half inside the table, you can do that. One of the videos that I watched, Taliesin was talking about how he watched the developer make an oven using different objects, and he had barrels that he sunk into this other object with just the round part sticking out to basically make burners like a stovetop on this oven that he was building. There's all sorts of things that you can do. There's just I don't know how it is that Blizzard has given us this game for so long, where it's been so strict and regimented in what you can do, and now they're giving us a feature that it's basically the Wild Wild West. I don't understand, but this is what we're getting. We're going to be able to theme our houses, okay? This is very important to understand. The house is going to be in Orgrimmar or Stormwind, but if you say, hey, I want my house in Orgrimmar to have a Blood Elf theme because I'm a Blood Elf, you can do that. I wanted my house in Stormwind to have a Draenei theme. You could do that as well. However you want to theme your house, and it will cover the entirety of the house. So if you've built a bunch of different things and different rooms in your house, and you say, I don't like this theme, I'm going to switch it. You switch it, bloop, it updates everything for you. Now, there are certain decorations that aren't going to update because those are static, but the basics like the walls, the stairs, things like that, those will all update to whatever theme you choose. It's going to be something that is not just, here's here for all the different races. It's going to be based on the different expansions too. So we're going to have all of these art assets that are already in the game that we're going to be able to use and utilize for player housing. All right. The last thing that I found really interesting is that players are going to be able to use collision and gameplay to create different things in their house. So this says jumping puzzles, secret passages, mazes, and even functional PvP areas in their houses. I think that's really cool. I mean, if you want to make Fight Club, you can do that. One feature that they did not have is there's no basement. You can't have Fight Club in your basement. You'd have to have it in a side bedroom, which, I mean, that's fine too. Plenty of people have Fight Clubs in their side bedrooms, right? But I think one of the really interesting things about all of these changes is that Blizzard is just like, you want to do that? Sure. Yep, you can do that. Yep, you can do that too. Yep, you can do that too. Like, where's the no? I'm waiting for Blizzard to go, no, you can't do that. The only no we've gotten so far is no, you can't have unlimited houses or one house per character. They're not going to let us build 65 houses for our character limit. And I get that, at least not to begin with. Maybe down the road, once they know how the servers are going to handle all of these houses, maybe they'll open it up. Maybe they'll say, okay, you get one house for free, and then you can purchase an additional house for 100,000 gold or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe that you could just get another house for free. Maybe you get 10 houses. Maybe they increase the number. Maybe it's 5 houses per faction. I don't know. But for now, we have 1 house per faction that you can build. Me personally, I'll be able to build 4 houses because I have 2 accounts that are not linked together. So every now and then that gives me an advantage, but my characters won't be able to go to each other's houses. So that's going to kind of stink. But anyway, it's not a big deal. Yeah. As far as the neighborhoods go, so like I said, you'll be able to build a guild neighborhood if you so choose, or you can go to a public neighborhood. Now, we don't have information on how the public neighborhoods are going to work or how you get to choose your plot of land. If it's going to be a lottery, if you're just going to get a random one, what if you want a corner lot? What if you want a big backyard? What if you don't want a yard, you just want a bigger house? We don't know any of that yet. It's still to be determined. But what we do know is that Blizzard is really trying hard to encourage people to be social. They don't want this to be Garrisons 2.0. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to make the neighborhoods part of the experience, not just where your house is located, but you can go out and talk to your neighbors or, duel your neighbors or whatever it is that you want to do in a gameplay standpoint. I can imagine there being a neighborhood gossip crew, just like there is in real life, where you have people standing around talking about all the nonsense that's going on in the neighborhood. Oh, well, did you see Stealth Dagger, what they did with their house? Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Oh, did you look at Chimera Breath? He hasn't even logged in for 3 months. I don't know what kind of gossip there would be about the housing neighborhood, but there's going to be. I guarantee it. There will be gossip. Now, of course, you could end up in a neighborhood that's boring and nobody wants to talk to each other. But you know what? That happens in real life too. The last neighborhood I lived in California was boring as shit. Nobody wanted to talk to each other. Everybody had these 6-foot privacy fences and everyone was hiding from each other. It was so unfriendly and impersonal. And, that's California for you. But now that I live in Ohio, there's a lot more friendliness from the neighborhood. A lot of waving, a lot of, let me help the old lady across the street with her trash cans on trash day or whatever. Midwest is just different. So, right. So that's what's going on there. As far as monetization goes, Blizzard did say that they are going to monetize player housing. It is going to be monetized, but it's not going, you're not going to pay for it. So the house is free. You get to just get your house, and a lot of the decorations are going to be free. You're going to be able to just either get them or earn them through gameplay. But you will be able to get items off of the Blizzard store. So there's going to be specialty items that are rare, unique, special decorations that you can get. Nothing functional, nothing that you have to have that you've got to pay for. No, this is all kind of prestige type things. You're like, hey, I spent $30 on this, and somebody else will go, wow, you spent $30 on a cabinet in your virtual house. You could have spent $30 on a real cabinet in your real house, but you decided not to do that, or whatever. So, and then there will also be items on the trading post. So if you're not putting in your real money, you could put in your trader's tendies, and you can get housing items off of the trading post. A lot of housing items are going to come from achievements. We mentioned this a couple weeks ago. They'll come from achievements. They'll come from dungeon drops, raid drops, things like that. You'll be able to earn them through gameplay. You'll be able to play the game and earn the items in your house. So there's nothing that's going to prevent you from being able to get the items except for your time. Really is the limiting factor there. And that's just the case in WoW. I mean, anything in WoW, you're like, oh, I got to go grind this. It's like, well, you've got to have the time to do it. Whether you're trying to get a certain achievement, Keystone Legend, or you're trying to gear up your character in Classic, it just takes your time. So that's your biggest currency that you're going to spend on this. And obviously you're going to spend a lot of time on housing, because there's a lot of objects in the game that you're going to be able to use. And what we found out is that the object limit for your house is 10,000 objects. 10,000. How? What? I was thinking 500. Oh, you're going to get 500 things, and then it's going to start giving you errors and yelling at you, and oh, insert your credit card for more items or something. But no, seriously, 10,000 items is going to be our limit. That's mind-boggling how good that is. We're going to have so many things in the house. The houses themselves, you can have multiple rooms. I don't know how the room building is going to work. I didn't see any of the videos that showed that. But what I do know is that the outside of the house, it does not have to match up with the inside of the house. So you could have a mansion on the outside and a 1-bedroom on the inside, or you could have a small, modest home on the outside and a mansion on the inside. It's just up to you, whatever you decide to do. One of the videos, I think maybe it was Preach, or I don't know who it was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Somebody said it, and whoever you are, I forgot, and I'm sorry, but you said it first. I didn't come up with this. They called it TARDIS houses. So if you know Doctor Who, the TARDIS on the inside is much bigger than it is on the outside. So, yeah. So there you go. Yeah. So I was really down on player housing when I first announced it. I was like, this is stupid. Nobody wants player housing. This is dumb. I don't know why all these people keep talking about it, blah, blah, blah. All this negative stuff. And as Blizzard has slowly started rolling out these features, I've been like, oh shit, this looks really good. Like, I could legit see myself spending hours building my house. The wife comes in. Oh, you're playing WoW. What you doing? Building my house. That's all I'm doing. I'm just building my house. I mean, she'll be doing the same thing. She'll be building her house, I'm sure. Because, everybody does it in their own way. And, one of the reasons why I really like Warlords of Draenor is because you get a garrison. And you can customize buildings. You're like, ooh, I can put in this building or that building, and this is my space. And it's like, man, that's nothing. That's like playing with, those big old blocks that you have in preschool versus like, this technical Lego set where you're like building movable parts and robots and stuff. But you get what I'm saying. It's like players want to be able to customize their space in WoW. It's something that people have wanted in this game for a long time. And Blizzard is finally giving it to us. And they're not just giving it to us, they're giving it to us in a way that is, at least as far as I'm concerned, far exceeding any expectations that I had. From what I can tell from other games, because I've never played any other MMOs. I've only ever played WoW. I think I played Lord of the Rings Online one time. Well, I've played EVE Online, but that's not really an MMO. That's just a spreadsheet simulator in space. As far as I have read, this WoW's implementation of player housing looks like it's going to be the best one that's ever been done. Final Fantasy 14, Guild Wars, whatever other games. I don't know what other games have player housing, but from what everybody has been saying, this looks like it's going to be the best one. And that's something that I really have wanted Blizzard to do for a long time that they haven't been doing. Blizzard used to be late to the party in the best outfit every time. World of Warcraft, late to the party. There was already EverQuest. There was already Ultima Online. There was already RuneScape. World of Warcraft showed up, blew everyone out of the water. StarCraft, we already had Command and Conquer. We already had all these other games. Blizzard showed up with StarCraft, blew everyone out of the water. Blizzard has been good at hitting these home runs where they take an existing genre of game and they go, yes, but we're going to do it the best. And they do. They do it the best. But they haven't been recently. And a lot of that, you can point the finger at Activision and Bobby Kotick if you want to. But the reality is, Blizzard hasn't been hitting those home runs like they used to. And if this is something that's going to be a return to form for Blizzard, I'm happy about that. I don't need to sit here and complain and dog on Blizzard because it's cool and it's going to get me points on the internet. No. I'm going to tell you how I feel. That's the whole point of this podcast, is me telling you how I feel about whatever it is I'm talking about. And in this particular case, I feel like Blizzard doing player housing in the way that they're doing it and working with the player community and giving us things that we didn't even ask for, that we didn't even know we wanted. It's Blizzard of old. It's the old school Blizzard. We're getting these things. We're going to be happy with player housing. And Blizzard has made it very clear that this is not a, okay, here's midnight and here's player housing and okay, that system is done. No, like I said earlier in Ian's talk at Nordic Games, I keep forgetting what this conference was called. They know they can't just give you a system and go, this is done. Player housing is going to be one of the major systems in WoW for years to come. Forever. This will exist in WoW forever. So get in there, get your houses and decorate them. And when we get to this point, when we start actually building player housing, when we actually get our houses, we're going to have to do some like housing competitions or something. I'm sure every YouTuber and their mom is going to have a housing competition, but you know what? I'm going to do one too, because I think it would be really cool for everyone to post pictures of their house, have a competition. We can all go visit each other's houses, do a vote, whatever. I don't know. It'll be fun, but I'm so looking forward to this feature. I am so excited about it. Blizzard keeps adding in these little information tidbits that they're giving us. They blog posts. We just had all these dev interviews. It's been great. But the one thing that we haven't gotten is, how are we going to get into this system? We don't know that yet. And I think that's probably because that part isn't done yet. But that's, to me, the biggest thing is this going to be a super intuitive, I can just jump right into this? Or is this going to be this really complex, cumbersome loading screen nightmare of a system? We'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes. But this is going to come before midnight. I don't know if it's going to come before the pre-patch or if this is going to be a pre-patch feature. I don't know yet. We'll have to see. I don't think Blizzard knows yet either. I think they'll release it when it's ready, or at least when it's in a usable state, because they're going to continue to iterate on it. So when will we see player housing? If I had to guess, I'd say we're going to get it around Christmas time. Maybe this will be our Christmas present from Blizzard. That's just a guess, though. I have no idea. I think we're going to see midnight as the expansion sometime around February, March. So maybe we'll get player housing in early January. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know that it's going to be married to the midnight pre-patch, though. I think it could actually come as a feature before that hits. But we'll see. We'll have to see how that goes. So, all right. I think that's going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I really do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege for me to go on this microphone and speak to you. I know that the release dates for the podcast have been all over the map lately, and I apologize for that. As I mentioned a few weeks ago, and it's been an ongoing difficulty for me to find a good date to record the podcast. So I'm just going to do them when I can, and I'll release them when I can. And if at a certain point in time I'm able to get a better schedule, then I'll let you all know. But for now, they're going to get released when they do, and I'll do my best to get them out there. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments about the show or about the podcast, or if you have a particular topic that you'd like to hear discussed, you can email us at azerothunitedpod@gmail.com. If you are curious about any of the links for the show, you can check out our website. It's azerothunitedpod.com. That has all of our links, and you can get to our Discord server there. You can get to our Patreon there. Everything is there for you if you want to interact with us in some way. If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can reach me on Twitter. I'm at Denethar on that platform. You can also ping me on Blue Sky. I do still check that, but I just don't use it very often. I'm at Denethar there as well. You can occasionally catch me streaming on Twitch or YouTube. I am at Denethar01 on both of those platforms. Although I had a realization about Twitch the other day that I'm never going to become a Twitch streamer because I just don't have the energy to sit in front of a screen for 4 hours and play video games nonstop. I have to take breaks. I've got to get up. I've got to walk around. I've got to go grab a snack, grab a drink. That doesn't really work if you're a streamer. So I might still occasionally stream here and there, but I'm never going to be a streamer, air quote streamer, if you know what I mean. So, but it's still there. So you can check that out if you are interested in doing so. If you want to support the podcast, there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. You can give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That will really help out with the distribution of the podcast itself. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can help by giving us a like and a subscribe. That really helps out as well. Commenting for interaction, also really good. Even if you just put an emoji, a thumbs up, anything, that would really help out a lot. So that's what you can do there. If you are looking for ways to help out more than just that, you could consider joining our Patreon. We have several different tiers of our Patreon, including our top level tier, which is the friend of the show. And I'd like to thank our friend of the show patrons right now. They are Judge Omni, Stug Life, Thelial, and Greybeard. Thank you all so much. Your IRL money definitely helps make Azeroth United possible. I really do appreciate it. It's always nice for me to see people giving support to the podcast, and any show, any podcast, any streamer, any YouTuber, somebody that you're watching that you really enjoy. These people are putting their time and their effort into the content that is entertaining you. I definitely feel like it's worthwhile to support those people. And sometimes maybe you don't want to subscribe. Maybe you don't want to have a monthly payment. You can't afford to have money just pulled out of your account. There's different ways to do it. I've actually looked at starting a Ko-fi or Ko-fi or whatever it's called. But there's a couple different things that you can do for that. But anyway, the point is, support your favorite streamers, support your favorite YouTubers, support your favorite podcasts. These people are putting in a lot of effort. So to the people that support Azeroth United, I really appreciate it. Those of you who don't, it's okay. Enjoy the podcast. I'm doing this for free for a reason. I'm doing this so that I can talk about World of Warcraft whenever I want, or at least whenever I have time to get in front of the camera. That's what I love. That's what enjoy doing. That's why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this to make money. I'm not trying to make podcasting my career. I'm doing this for the love of talking about World of Warcraft and interacting with my audience. So if you all are enjoying this, please let me know. Reach out in some way. You don't have to pay money on Patreon if you don't want to. You can just send me a message. You can send me an email, and you can reach me on Twitter, whatever you want to do. And just let me know that you're enjoying the show, because to me, that's the biggest currency that I can get. So, all right. Now that sappy little bit is over, thank you again to the patrons. It really does mean a lot to me, though, that you have opted to give me your IRL money. So thank you. And that's going to wrap up our show. So remember to be good to each other out there. That's a real person on the other side of that keyboard. And maybe they don't want player housing. Maybe they just want to be homeless. They want to be a homeless murder hobo that just runs around and kills people for gold. Then that's fine. You can do that. But me, I'm going to live in a house. And if you want to live in a house too, that's fine. But you can still be nice to those other people. It's just a person on the other side of the keyboard. And, you just smile and interact with them in any way that you see fit. So, all right. Take care. I love you all. And I'll see you in Azeroth.